The international football calendar has never been as intense and loaded as it is right now. At the end of last season, the top European clubs played the FIFA Club World Cup, a time when players are usually on vacation. And we might be paying for that now, heading into the 2026 World Cup. A lot of stars are already confirmed out. Others, meanwhile, are racing against time to recover and get fit. Given the long list of players who could miss out, I want to take you through every single player who might not be at the North America World Cup. I'm splitting this into two parts. First, the players already confirmed out, then, the ones who are injured and have a good chance of missing out, doing everything possible to make it. Alright, let's get started. Players already confirmed out of the World Cup. Let's start with Japan, and with a player who's been one of the most consistent performers in Asian football for years. Takumi Minamino, 73 caps, 26 goals for Japan, a Premier League winner with Liverpool, and the kind of player who doesn't make headlines every week, but who you absolutely notice when he's not there. In December, playing for Monaco, Minamino ruptured the ACL in his left knee. He'd scored 4 goals in qualifying. Japan were building something special around him, and he was a central piece of that. But he won't be there. For a player who has given so much to that national team shirt, it's a brutal way for a World Cup cycle to end. And if you enjoy international football content like this, go ahead and subscribe and drop a like. It really does help. Now back to it. The Dutch star, Xavi Simons. Well, Xavi Simons has spent most of his career carrying the weight of what he was supposed to become. The potential, the hype, the Barcelona Academy, the PSG years, the French Championship, all of it hanging over him like a question mark that never quite got answered. At Tottenham, this season, it hadn't clicked. Club football wasn't giving him the platform he needed. The system, the form, the consistency just wasn't there. But here's the thing about Xavi Simons. Put him in an orange shirt and he becomes a different conversation entirely. 34 caps for the Netherlands. Koeman saw him as one of the pillars of the team. Whatever wasn't working at club level, it wasn't showing up internationally, because for the Orange, he was one of the pillars of the whole cycle. On the 25th of April, playing for Tottenham against Wolves, Simons went down with a ruptured ACL and was carried off on a stretcher. Then an Instagram post the next day saying his dream had been, in his own words, ripped away from him. One of the most important players in the Dutch setup, gone from the World Cup. And the Netherlands don't stop there, because they also lose Jordi Schouten, the PSV holding midfielder, who'd quietly become one of the most important players in Dutch football, ruptured his ACL at the start of April. 17 caps for the national team. Not a household name for casual fans, but anyone who watched the Netherlands closely this cycle knows how much he controlled things in midfield. Now, Spain. Samu? Spain are the reigning European champions. They've got possibly the most talented squad in world football right now, but they're not immune to this either. Samu, the Porto striker, 20 years old, considered one of the brightest attacking talents coming out of Spain, ruptured his ACL in February against Sporting. He only had 4 senior caps for the national team, but was seen as a key option for Luis de la Fuente in the tournament. Argentina also suffered a major loss. Joan Foyth, he plays for Villarreal, covers both center back and right back, and was part of the squad that lifted that trophy in 2022. In January, he ruptured his Achilles tendon, 22 caps, 0 goals, but enormous value in terms of defensive versatility and experience at the highest level. Argentina's defensive options aren't endless. Next, Serge Gnabry, 7-time German champion, Champions League winner with Bayern Munich, 59 caps, 26 international goals. Serge Gnabry's career numbers are better than most people give him credit for. In April, he tore the adductor muscle in his right thigh, ending both his club season and his World Cup dream. He posted on Instagram, "The World Cup dream is over." He'd scored 8 goals in the Bundesliga this season. He was in form. He was ready. And then his body had other ideas. Germany have depth, but losing a player with Gnabry's experience and goal threat in a World Cup year is never straightforward. Hugo Ekitike. Last summer, Liverpool paid 80 million euros for Hugo Ekitike. 80 million! One of the most expensive transfers of that window. 8 caps for France, 2 international goals, a player being talked about as the future of the French attack. On a Champions League night at Anfield, playing against PSG of all teams, Ekitike ruptured his Achilles tendon. He left the pitch on a stretcher in tears in front of his home crowd in one of the biggest games of the season. Didier Deschamps confirmed it in an official statement from the French Football Federation. He will not be at the World Cup. France are still France. They have depth that most countries would trade half their squad for, but this one stings. It genuinely stings. This is where the list starts to feel different, because Rodrygo going down isn't just about the injury. It's about the story that gets cut short, and I care about this one more than I probably should. Qatar, 2022. Brazil vs Croatia in the quarterfinal. Brazil lead 1-0 in extra time. Croatia equalize. Penalties. And in that shootout, one of the most painful moments I can remember watching as someone who genuinely invests in this Brazilian team. Rodrygo's penalty is saved. I know exactly where I was watching that game. I know the exact feeling when that penalty went the wrong way. 2 Champions League titles with Real Madrid, 37 caps, 9 goals for Brazil, and everything pointing toward a World Cup where he finally rights that wrong. March, Real Madrid vs Getafe, ruptured ACL and meniscus, right knee. He called it on social media, one of the worst days of my life. The redemption arc closed before it even started. Sad story. Vanderson, right? This is where Brazil's situation stops feeling like bad luck. Vanderson, Monaco right back, 23 years old, 7 caps. He'd been building toward this World Cup for 2 full years, establishing himself as a genuine starter for the Seleção, quick and aggressive and technically sharp going forward. In March, Vanderson suffered a hamstring injury that was serious enough to require surgery. Well, 2 Brazilians are already gone from the World Cup, and I'm not finished yet. And then there's Militao, Éder Militao, 38 caps, 2 goals, 2-time Champions League winner with Real Madrid, one of the best central defenders in the world on his day. In April, playing against Alaves, he suffered a hamstring injury and was flown to Finland for surgery, confirmed out. Season over, World Cup over. Rodrygo, Vanderson, Militao. 3 Brazilian players who were all but certain to be on that plane. The Seleção's depth is being tested before the tournament has even started, and Carlo Ancelotti is going to have to find answers fast, especially for the defensive system. So that's part 1. These players will not be there. Part 2 is different. Part 2 is the one still fighting, still pushing through rehab, still staring at fixture lists, still counting days. And some of these stories are just as dramatic. Lamine Yamal. Of every name on this entire list, this is the one that generated the most collective anxiety. And honestly, rightfully so. Lamine Yamal, 17 years old. I've been saying since Euro 2024 that this kid plays football with a kind of freedom that you simply cannot coach into someone. You either have it or you don't. And he has it in a way that I haven't seen from a teenager since, genuinely, Ronaldinho at his most uninhibited. I know that's a big comparison. 22nd of April, Celta Vigo, grade 2 biceps femoris injury in his left leg, while scoring a penalty, of all things. If Yamal is fit, and right now the signs are cautiously positive, Spain are the team to beat, not just a favorite, the great favorite. And this World Cup deserves Lamine Yamal at his best. And now, the guy who could become the greatest World Cup top scorer, Kylian Mbappé. When one of the most famous footballers on the planet shows up in a section called Racing Against Time, you stop what you're doing. Kylian Mbappé, 96 caps, 56 goals, World Cup winner in 2018, the name on more shirt sales than any other player on the planet right now, behind Messi and Cristiano, of course. On the 24th of April, he came off in a Real Madrid match with muscular discomfort. The club confirmed a semitendinosus muscle injury in his left leg, no timeline given. Depending on severity, he could still return before the World Cup, but the clock is ticking. He may return before the tournament. He may not. Nobody knows yet. What I can tell you is this. France without Mbappé at a World Cup is a different conversation, not just tactically, philosophically. He is their identity, their statement, the reason other teams change their preparation when they see the draw. Well, France will still be one of the favorites because they still have Elise, Cherki, Dembele. The talent is there. But of course, it's not the same without Mbappé. Deschamps will be on the phone to Real Madrid's medical team every single day until this is resolved. Mo Salah. Here's the one I find most emotionally loaded. Salah has 115 caps, 67 goals, the greatest player in Egyptian football history. And well, this wouldn't even be the first time a major injury threatened to rob Salah of a World Cup. In 2018, he went to Russia carrying a shoulder injury suffered in the Champions League final against Real Madrid, a controversial fall with Sergio Ramos that had the whole world talking. He played, but he was not 100%. The injury came on the 25th of April, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, possibly the last time Salah ever plays at Anfield. He goes off with a hamstring issue. The Egyptian Football Association confirms 4 weeks of recovery needed. And here's where it gets interesting. Egypt play their first World Cup game on the 15th of June against Belgium. 4 weeks puts him right at the edge of available, and if the injury is mild, which early signs suggest, time is just barely on his side. He's 33. This could be his last World Cup. He has to make it. He needs to get back. Estevan. Remember what I said about Brazil's nightmare. We're not done. Estevan, the Chelsea forward, Brazilian champion with Palmeiras, the Brasileirão best player in 2024, 11 caps, 5 goals for the Seleção, at 21 years old. He came off in tears during Chelsea's match against Manchester United with a hamstring injury, and the reports since then haven't been encouraging. The injury has been described as worse than initially feared, and there are apparently conversations between Chelsea and the CBF about whether it even makes sense to call him up for just the knockout rounds. Estevão had been the best player since Ancelotti took over. He was a starter for Brazil. If he really doesn't make it, it's going to be a huge loss. And then Rafinha. And fifth, Brazil could lose 5 great players. 120 caps. 42 goals for Brazil, 2-time La Liga champion. Crack of La Liga this season. Right now, without any debate in my mind, one of the best wide players in world football. On the 26th of March, playing for Brazil, he suffered a right hamstring injury. Barcelona confirmed 5 weeks of recovery. Brazil's first game is on the 13th of June. And I'll say this about Rafinha, for me, he's Brazil's best player right now. In fact, I genuinely believe he should have been the 2025 Ballon d'Or winner, not Dembélé. And that's something that often gets lost in the conversation about Brazil's attacking options. He makes other players better. The runs he makes off the ball, the pressure he applies when his team doesn't have possession, the decisions he makes in the final third to create space for teammates. These things don't show up in highlight reels, but they show up in results. He's absolutely great. The window is tight, but it exists, and I need it to exist because a Brazil without Rafinha is a meaningfully lesser team. Back to Argentina. Christian Romero, 101 caps, 3 goals, 1 World Cup winner's medal, and for the last 4 years, one of the 2 or 3 most physically commanding central defenders in world football. 12th of April, Sunderland. Medial cruciate ligament injury after a collision with the goalkeeper. Sources indicate 5 to 8 weeks out. Argentina open against Algeria on the 17th of June. The maths just about work. But you don't rush Romero back. Argentina's defensive identity runs through him. He is Argentina's most important defensive player. Scaloni needs him, and Scaloni knows it. Luka Modric, he is 40 years old. He has 196 caps. Modric has won the Champions League 6 times, the greatest player in Croatian football history, and he is still here. On the 26th of April, playing for AC Milan against Juventus, he fractured his cheekbone. Surgery. But both Milan and multiple reports confirm he should be available for the World Cup. Croatia open against England on the 17th of June. The same England that Modric's Croatia eliminated in the 2018 semi-final. At 40, in what is almost certainly his final major tournament, we need Modric to have his last dance at the World Cup. The next, Hakimi, still no clarity on this one. 95 caps, 11 goals for Morocco, one of the best right backs in world football, and one of the players who, more than almost anyone, changed the global conversation about what African football is capable of. PSG's Champions League semi-final against Bayern Munich, a game PSG won 5-4, which is still a result I'm processing. Hakimi comes off with a suspected muscular injury. Luis Enrique can't give a prognosis after the game. Nothing. Morocco in 2022 changed something permanently about how the world sees African football. Hakimi is the symbol of that, and right now we simply don't know. Undefined, at this stage, is almost as hard to sit with as confirmed out. The next, Mohamed Kudus. Some of these cases at least have a timeline. Kudus doesn't even have that. 46 caps, 13 goals for Ghana. At his best, technically outstanding, explosive, completely unpredictable, one of the most exciting attacking midfielders in Premier League. He hasn't played since suffering a quadriceps injury for Tottenham on the 4th of January. That's nearly 4 months off the pitch. No confirmed return date, Listed as doubtful with no further information. 4 months out. No timeline. A World Cup in June. The maths don't look good. Arda Güler, another Madrid player, 20 years old. Champions League winner with Real Madrid. 28 caps, 6 goals for Turkey. One of the most technically gifted young players in European football. He suffered a right hamstring injury playing for Real Madrid on the 21st of April, out for the rest of the season. But he expects to be fit for the World Cup, and the timeline supports that. Turkey, with a fit Güler orchestrating things in midfield, can be a genuinely fascinating team in North America. The next, Romelu Lukaku, the all-time record goal scorer for the Belgian national team. 124 caps, 89 goals. Lukaku has been dealing with a recurring hamstring problem for almost the entire season. His last appearance for Napoli was on the 6th of March. That's months of on and off issues with no clear resolution. He hasn't been officially ruled out, but nobody's brimming with confidence either. Belgium's opening match is on the 15th of June against Egypt, which means potentially Lukaku against Salah, two all-time legends of their respective national teams. What a game that could be, if both of them make it. And then there's Neymar, 128 caps, 79 goals, the all-time top scorer in Brazilian football history, Champions League winner with Barcelona, and at his absolute peak. I've thought about this more times than I probably should. The most entertaining footballer I have ever personally watched. But here is the reality, and I think we need to say it plainly. Since 2023, Neymar's body has been delivering the same verdict repeatedly, in different ways. Grade 2 muscle tear in September of 2025, meniscus injury in November, surgery in December, posterior thigh problems in March, another injury in April. He cannot get a run of games together. He cannot stay fit long enough for any manager to build around him. Ancelotti hasn't called him up, not out of disrespect, because Neymar cannot currently give the Brazilian national team what it needs from him. And Ancelotti is not a sentimental manager. Never has been. I want Neymar at this World Cup. I want it for him personally. He's 33. This is the last time this dream is even theoretically on the table. The image of him lifting that trophy in North America, everything he's been through, every injury, every criticism, every setback, resolved in the best possible way. I want that story to exist. But there comes a point where wanting something for someone isn't enough, his body has to cooperate, and right now, it's not. So, what does all of this actually tell us? It tells us that football has reached a breaking point. The calendar is beyond full. The Club World Cup last summer ate into what should have been recovery time. The FIFA international windows add pressure on top of pressure. The leagues keep expanding, the cups keep growing, the commercial calendar keeps stretching, and players, actual human beings, are paying the price. Something needs to change. Maybe England doesn't need the League Cup. Maybe Spain and Italy don't need 20 clubs in the top division. Cut it to 18, drop a couple of rounds, give players a proper preseason. These aren't radical ideas, they're just logical, because right now, the best players in the world are missing the biggest tournament in the world, and everyone loses. Do you agree that the football calendar has gone too far? Or do you think players and clubs just need to adapt to the modern game? Write it in the comments. If this video was useful, a like helps the channel grow more than you'd think. And there's another video right here on football interest that goes even deeper into the state of international football. Don't miss it. See you in the next one.